Anthony, and this is Fox News.
It's time for WPTV's First Alert Weather from the WPTV News Channel 5 newsroom. Now with 7 meteorologists covering the Treasure and Gold Coasts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now here's WPTV's First Alert meteorologist.
Highs in the low 80s, but a cold front is passing through. That's going to give us a chance for showers this afternoon and becoming breezy throughout today. Less humid by tonight with temperatures dipping into the low 60s with just a few clouds out there. Then tomorrow expect lots of sunshine. It will be comfortable. Temperatures for tomorrow in the mid-70s. Then another pleasant day.
I'll probably hire her for her chief of staff after she got elected.
Highs in the upper 70s on Friday. I'm WPTV First Alert meteorologist Jennifer Correa for WSTU 1450, Martin County's Heritage Station.
You are listening to WSTU, Stewart, Jensen Beach, Hope Sound, Martin County's Heritage Station.
It's time now for the Casey Ingram Show on WSTU. The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788, 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
We have another great show on tap. I know we had a little bit of a heated show last week, and we're going to be talking about red flag laws in this segment. But it's very interesting, and I know it's a concern for a lot of people that are out there if red flag laws are used in a nefarious or unjust way. So we're going to be talking about that today and with Shayne Snavely. Before we get into the show with Shayne, I want to remind everybody that the Freedom Fund Gala at the NAACP in Martin County is this Saturday. We had Jimmy Smith in here, and he is really excited. Tickets may be sold out, so you'll want to check, but it's this Saturday. It's at the Hutchinson Island Beach Resort. Cheryl Campbell will be their speaker, and it'll be beginning about 5 o'clock, and it's going to be just a wonderful gala. Cheryl Campbell brings decades of experience to the role of the Assistant Secretary for the Administration and the first woman and person of color to serve in her role. So again, you'll want to get your tickets with the NAACP. You can give Jimmy a call, 772-215-2411, 772-215-2411, black tie optional event starting at $115. So it's going to be a really great event. Also, the Fish House Art Center, that is the best kept secret in Martin County. With all our spring break friends coming down, it's a really great place to take them. It's down in the pocket, Port Salerno. You can come by boat, car, stroll the boardwalk, visit the Airbnb. It has a craft and creamery, so you can get craft beers, wine, and 24 flavors of ice cream. There's really something there for everybody. Again, that's the Fish House Art Center down in the pocket in Port Salerno. You can look them up online, thefishhouseartcenter.com, before you go. Also, want to remind everybody, Indiantown Marina is one of South Florida's best boat storage facilities. It's located inland on the Okeechobee Waterway, very, very well protected hurricane hull, and they are home to many in the cruising community who find their facility ideally situated and very user-friendly. They're a do-it-yourself or full-service boat yard, so if you need something done on your boat, and I know if you have a boat, you do need something done, you can get that work done yourself or have a mechanic out there at Indiantown Marina. Give them a call, 772-631-3272, 631-3272. And Commercial Mortgage has been in the industry of small balance corporate finance since 2003. Their focus is on equity new debt solutions and challenging corporate foreclosures and debt restructures. Commercial Mortgage never charges a front fee or deposit, and consultations are always free. Areas of expertise include hotels, marinas, office buildings, restaurants, apartments, multifamily, condos, golf courses, home builders, land development, including new and repurposed developments. Call Commercial Mortgage LLC at 561-310-5295, 561-310-5295, or visit them online at commercialmortgagellc.com. Also, want to remind everybody you can sign up for an email blast. I don't spam you, but I do send out who the special guest will be in the studio every week, and you can sign up for that at my website, thecaseyingramshow.com. Today, folks, we're really talking about a red flag law. show and really the overuse of the red flag law. It's a concern that everybody has had since these laws started to pass. And let's start out first. What are red flag laws? Red flag laws are intended to preemptively disarm people who show warning signs that they could be dangerous to themselves and or others. When information emerged that the Parkland shooter had documented mental health issues, legislators across the country began pushing for laws that would take guns away from individuals whose unstable behavior raised a red flag. Many states with red flag laws allow a court order to not only remove someone's current firearms, but to also prevent them from owning, purchasing, possessing, or transporting firearms and ammo for a specified period of time. Generally, there's an initial temporary firearm restraining order that lasts for several weeks, but the initial order can last longer in some states. And most jurisdictions allow the extension of these orders if the person is still deemed a threat. In addition, you don't even need a court order to have some of these red flag laws instituted on individuals. You can just call the police. And we're going to be talking about that today. Right now, there are 19 states that have these red flag laws. Florida and Maryland use the red flag laws the most, according to a recent study in 2020. In the studio today, I have Shayne Snavely. Shayne is a disabled veteran who served in the U.S. Army 101 1st Airborne. He has started up and ran many businesses in his career, has been a government surplus contractor for over 20 years, a military contractor, and has worked with the Army Special Forces as a contractor. He is a political conservative who is heavily involved in Virginia state and national politics. He was team lead for Virginia State Senator Amanda Chase's governor's race in Virginia, where he worked as her senior legislative aide and head of security from early 2021 until March 2022. He then joined the team of Senator Bryce Reeves. He was heavily involved in the 2021 Virginia statewide election supporting Governor Glenn Youngkin, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, and Attorney General Jason Myers after their nominations. He's certified in armed and personal protection with the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice and is a founding partner of Executive Protective Services. He is most recently a founding partner of Rainmaker Strategic Partners, a campaign consulting company. So, folks, today we're going to be talking here with Shayne and specifically about Senator Amanda Chase and your experience working with her and her use of red flag laws. So, really, folks, there's going to be a lot on this topic. If you have a question for Shayne, 220-9788. I'm also watching the Facebook Live feed. But this is a really interesting story because Senator Chase is adamantly against red flag laws. She's out there stomping the ground all the time. So I'm going to turn this a little bit over to you, Shayne, and tell folks why you're here today and give us a little backstory of what's going on.
Well, Senator Chase, she's considered a hardcore conservative, firebrand. She's always for, First Amendment, Second Amendment. She's doing a lot of, she has a lot of good ideas, but she uses these things in a nefarious way because, you can't be for the Second Amendment. You can't be 100% with the NRA. You can't be 100% with the Virginia Citizens Defense League. Then be a hypocrite. And that is why I came out with this and I exposed this about her because, when she retaliates against people, her first go-to, I was with her for 14 months, and for about 10 of those months, I was her number one. We went all over the country. I was the one that got her into the election integrity circuit. We've been to Lindell Symposium. We've been to Dallas for special ballots that we're trying to get done. We've supported Doug Mastriano. So we're heavily into the further right conservative base. So my issue is you can't say you're doing that and then do the exact opposite. So when an employee quit during the governor's race, she immediately got mad and he was going to expose some things that she didn't like. So she says, I'm going to get him red flagged. And I was actually with her. I was the one that did I was with her when she made the police call. I was on the report. She told me, hey, you better back me up. I'm calling. I'm getting him red flag, getting his guns taken. Because for some reason, every employee that ever works for her that quits, and it's usually, she's had, I think, 12, 14 different staffers.
So, folks, let's step back 1 second here. Senator Amanda Chase is a conservative politician. She's Republican since 2016. since 2016, she's been a member of the Virginia Senate for the 11th District in Virginia, representing Amelia County and the city of Colonial Heights and part of Chesterfield County. In 2020, she ran an unsuccessful campaign for the Republican nomination of governor of Virginia in 2021. So that's a little bit of her background. Shayne, you are one of many employees, and I wanted to point that out because she's been a senator for 7 years, but you are one of her longer-term employees. She's had a lot of turnover, and we're going to talk about some of those employees today, but you were there for, was it, I'm looking here, I think 14 months?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that was the longest-term employee, so kind of keep that in mind. As I also want to give folks a little idea. We're going to play a couple of clips here, and I want to give people an idea of Amanda Chase, Senator Chase, and how much she opposes these red flag laws, to the fact that she's been questioned about them. And in fact, she was asked, have you ever tried to invoke a red flag law on employees? So, Evan, if you could go to cut 1, please.
Any Virginian can completely lose before even going before a judge or a magistrate for 14 days. That is un-American to go in and seize someone's weapons.
Have you ever tried to use the red flag law on anyone? Have you ever invoked the red flag bill called on one of your former employees?
No.
You have not?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is there any further questions of the patient?
Cree, if you're going to ask her about that, something's been distributed. I don't know whether she's seen it, and she, in fairness, ought to.
Yeah, have you seen the piece of? Yeah, Senator Chase. Yeah, there's a person has distributed document.
No, this is incorrect. This is from a disgruntled employee that's sitting here in the audience. I have never invoked red flag laws on any employee, and I go on the record for that.
Okay.
So, Shayne, what do you have to say about that clip? And when was that?
That was January 30th during the Judiciary Committee.
Of this year?
Yes, during our legislative session. And the reason I wanted to expose her for this is because she's done this kind of thing multiple times, and her go-to thing when I was with her, anytime she would get mad at somebody, especially if they were conservative, especially if she knew they were a gun person, the first thing she would say was, I'm going to get their guns taken. And this is a big problem because, you can't, like I said, you can't be the firebrand, I'm all for 2A, I'm all for the First Amendment, and then use these things against people because you get mad at them.
And she was very clear on there that I have not used it to invoke on my employees. Right. And you have actually documentation. Not only has she tried to invoke it against you, but against another former employee.
Oh, well, after that, what she didn't realize is I was in the process of getting the police report where she did try to invoke the red flag law. And I also had the affidavit from the guy that she red flagged. And so when I did this is very interesting. This is because she retaliates against every single employee. You're going to have a clip with Susan Beals where she tried to. This is the governor's nominee for the Virginia Department of. He had nominated her for the commissioner of the Department of Elections. Well, Susan Beals also worked for Amanda Chase, but it was 7 years ago. She never forgets. She always tries to retaliate against former employees, and every one of them have quit. They've not been fired, but when they quit because of the hostile work environment that she has, as soon as they quit, she starts calling around, trashing them, trying to get them to not get jobs, trying to get them fired. When you do the clip of Susan Beals in the Senate session, she actually pulled her from the block of nominees, and the Democrats were the biggest opponents for Susan Beals. They got up and spoke for her. What a good job she's doing.
We are going to get into that in just a minute. I want to talk and give folks just a good idea again with Amanda Chase. And Evan, there's another, if we can go to cut 2 here shortly. Senator Chase, she is out there trying to repeal red flag laws at the same time. Using them against her former employees as retaliation. So this is, if you can go to cut 2, Evan.
This can be used for nefarious reasons, Mr. Chairman, and that's what I'm really concerned about. Virginia judges have issued at least 327 emergency substantial risk protective orders, which allow police to temporarily confiscate firearms to address an immediate risk. The problem that we have is that we have too much authority given to a handful of people to indiscriminately take away a person's Second Amendment rights. And
So nefarious reasons. It's very ironic, Shayne. And folks, this is a senator in one of our states, Virginia, and she's been in office since 2016, and she's telling the public one thing, and behind the scenes, she's using this as a bullying and a battering ram against her own employees. I just want to read here again. The police. There are police reports. I have them in front of me. One of the previous employees, through his statement, said the detective stated that she had called the police, she meaning Senator Chase, because she thought that with my sudden quitting and the stress and other family issues that I might be a danger to myself or others. The detectives then confirmed this was a red flag interview based on the call and complaint they had received from Senator Chase. I talked to the detectives for about an hour in my driveway, and they realized that I was very rational and in my right frame of mind, and they didn't see any reason to believe they should go any further with their investigation, and they left. Shayne, you also had a very similar experience.
Oh, well, here's the interesting thing. So Amanda Chase doubles and triples down on everything she does. Even if she knows she's wrong, she reacts. And she'd be much better off to try to think about things for a couple days before she does things. So when I exposed her in the Judiciary Committee, I also was in contact with her current legislative aide. He calls me and tells me that when she goes back up to her office, she is so mad, she says she's going to red flag me. And what she did that Thursday, she goes and gets a protective order, which is worse than a red flag. Evidently, she had some counsel, and she goes and she gets a temporary protective order against me. And then this is on Thursday of that week. And then on Friday, that was a 3-day. And then on Friday, she goes and gets it extended because the only thing she has, she knows that I know the dirt. She knows that I know the truth. She knows I'm not backing down. And what happens with her, she's famous for bullying people into submission, even senators and other legislators. She bullies everybody into submission because they don't want to have to deal with it. They don't want to have to deal with her in court. They don't want to have to deal with her on the social media because she'll blast them. So she goes and gets a protective order against me for doing this. She does the same thing to me because I exposed her. So and she says that she's afraid for her life. I've never once threatened Senator Chase. I was her security for 14 months. I actually care about her as a person, but I cannot sit back and watch when you're a total hypocrite and when you're telling all your voters. The reason I'm doing this, the voters need to know, but also for several days a week, she sends out constant contact emails to all of her base, which is probably 30, 40,000 people, and she hits her opponent, Glenn Sturdivant, because Glenn Sturdivant voted for red flag laws. All right, so she all the time she's hitting him. Every week she's hitting him. Well, Glenn Sturdivant's a good guy, and he's got an explanation for why he did that, and he's took care of that himself during his campaign. But this is her competition, and what he does, she's hitting him every week. So I'm saying, no, you can't say that you're mad at him and you're going to hit him publicly and politically for voting for a red flag law when you use the red flag law against all your employees.
So, folks, this is when Shayne contacted me about the show, and by the way, Shayne flew in from Virginia last night to be on the show and to share this story. And when he shared with me a lot of the police reports and background, I realized this wasn't one disgruntled employee. There's a big story here, and the story is what everybody fears with red flag law passage, that it's being overused, and it's not being used for its intent. This is being used as a retaliation. It kind of reminds me of the Patriot Act that was never going to be used against American citizens. It's going to protect us against terrorists. And what happened here 20 years later? Parents at school board meetings, the Patriot Act was used against them. So, here we are with red flag laws, and these have not been instituted that long. I think it was 2020, 2019 when it was instituted in Virginia. And one of the senators that's out campaigning and saying how horrible they are and this government overreach uses those very laws behind the scenes to retaliate and bully her former employees. And, Shayne, you left, and since then she had another employee who has stated on record, and that person has since left. And I just want to read a little bit of his statement, and it's about you, and it was about the protective order you were just talking about. He said, he told her, Shayne's worked for you for 14 months, and he didn't threaten you. You're a political posturing that does not deserve a protective order. Thursday after the session, she went and got an emergency protective order. Friday on the way into work, she said that she had gotten a protective order against Shayne, and I said, what? So you went and got a protective order? At this point, I told her you have got to either double down and step back and let it ride because you got a protective order against him, and he's not going to be notified. It's only 72 hours. On Friday after the session, she came to the office and said she wanted to go to the courthouse because she wanted to go to the extended protective order. While Senator Chase was in front of the judge, I walked in the courtroom and she sounded like a whipped puppy, telling the judge she feared for her life. Then she started bringing in Bryce Reeves' name, and she said that Shayne was working for Senator Reeves and that Shayne said he was going to try and take her out. Then she said that a year ago on the Senate floor, Senator Reeves said he was going to take her out. She told the judge the only reason Shayne was working for Senator Reeves was because they were working together to try to take her out. I immediately thought, oh my God, she is not doing this, is she? Then we were waiting for the protective order to be served, and another person pulled her aside and told her, if you and Shayne have personal problems and you feel like you need a protective order against Shayne, that's on you. But you do not need to bring other legislators and senators into this. She got mad and told us that we were picking on her and that she got picked on as a child and she's been offended. Literally 3 minutes later, the deputy walks in, she stands up and starts saying the same things that she told the judge. She's really worried because Shayne works for Senator Reeves. Senator Reeves said he's going to take me out. After this, we got into the car and we told her that she did not need to say those things. And I said, you need to listen now and stop talking. And a huge argument ensued. So that's her most recent employee.
Yes, and he resigned the next day.
He resigned the next day over this.
And I want to make something clear. You know, I work for Senator Reeves. Senator Reeves hired me as a advisor. Senator Reeves has nothing to do with this. Senator Reeves didn't hire me for this. Senator Reeves is one of the most honest senators there. He's a minority whip. He's a senior legislator. He works and gets things done. And I don't want this. This is election year. It's his campaign. This is the kind of stuff she does. She is totally against Senator Reeves because Senator Reeves is one of 3 Republicans that voted to censure her. She was only the second senator ever in Virginia censured for unbecoming things of a senator. All right. So now she's against him, and she's using my relationship with her, the fact that I'm coming after her politically, never, ever physically. She knows that. I'm not stupid. I'm certified. I'm an executive protection person. Why would I be stupid enough to do that? No, but I am coming after her politically. I do want to make sure she doesn't get reelected. But the fact that she's trying to bring Senator Reeves in this, Senator Reeves has nothing to do with this, and Senator Reeves, we have an agreement. I'm doing this as a private citizen. I'm not doing this as an employee of the Senate. I'm doing this because I have morals, and I cannot sit here and watch her do these things, and I can't sit here and watch her trash everybody. And this is her go-to thing. When she's in a bind, when she gets caught with doing nefarious things, I mean, she has 39 senators that would probably all of them love for her to be gone. The Democrats in the media that I've approached about this situation say, oh, we love her because she hits the Republicans. She never hits the Democrats. She trashes her own party. She's an embarrassment to her own party. So we don't want her to be gone. So there you have so many things at play. It's like a spider web. She should be gone. She doesn't get anything done. For the last 5 years, she's not got one bill passed. And this year, she was only out of 40 senators. She was the only senator that didn't get one bill out of Senate committee. Never even made it to the Senate floor.
And Shayne, this is one of the reasons why I appreciate you coming on this show, because so many people do not come forward and let us know what's going on behind the scenes. You are obviously deeply involved with politics. You're working right there in the Senate offices in the state of Virginia. As a matter of fact, Senator Reeves' office is 2 doors down from hers. So she says you pace up and down outside, and you're just going to your office to work.
Well, I'm in my office is 2 doors down from hers, away from the bathroom, the elevator, the committee rooms, the Capitol. So every time I come out of that office, I have to pass by her office. But what she's not telling everyone is she never even has her doors open. Usually they're closed. She doesn't see constituents. And I got word this year that she didn't even want to see anybody unless they were a donor. And then she even went so far as to say that if they didn't donate $100 or more, she wasn't even going to see a constituent for a meeting.
Boy, Virginians, that's not a representative of the people there. That's sad. That's sad, and that's just the kind of politician it's sad to see. It's about money, how big your wallet is, and unfortunately, she's not the only one like that out there. But you're on here, you're calling her out, especially over this red flag law. This is so disconcerting to anybody. Folks that stood by and said, no, these red flag laws are unconstitutional. They're going to be abused.
And I agree.
Sure enough.
I agree. All of her policies that she states, I agree with. I'm a further right-leaning conservative.
But you're not a hypocrite using red flag laws behind the scenes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. You brought up Susan Beals. Susan Beals, she is the election commissioner appointed by Governor Youngkin, who, by the way, this morning there's a talk he might be running for president, throwing his hat in the ring. So we might hear here in Florida a lot more about Governor Youngkin here in the next couple of years as the presidential race heats up. But nonetheless, he's a Republican. During confirming appointment session, Senator Chase strongly opposed Beals' appointment as election commissioner. Now, remind everybody that Susan Beals worked for Senator Chase back in 2015, 2016 for just the one term, and then she resigned. And Evan, if you could key up clip number 3, this is Senator Chase talking about Susan Beals.
This individual, Susan Beals of Richmond, worked for me for almost a year, and I knew her very well. And this is a matter of whether this is a good fit for this individual or not. Like I said, she worked with me for a year. And, one of the things I was surprised about it, there was no reference check done. You would think that I would have received a phone call from the Youngkin administration asking how she worked out in the office, but I did not get that phone call. And I was surprised a year ago when it was announced that she was going to be appointed. Because had they had called me, I could have given them a little bit of background on some concerns that I had as it related to a number of failures to address issues in the Chesterfield area and in our
So she was a little offended they didn't call her to get a reference on Susan Beals. And she goes on to say that it was a 4-minute speech she gave of why she opposes Ms. Beal. And, she said also in the newspaper she was deeply troubled and devastated when she heard about her appointment. In a statement, Chase cited Beal's rejection of unproven election irregularities during the 2020 presidential election and her opposition for a full forensic audit. So while she had this amendment, I think it was called, to basically repeal or revoke Susan Beal as an election commissioner. And I want to point everybody out, Amanda Chase is Republican. There are Democratic senators sitting in this room listening, and some of them weighed in on comments after Senator Chase spoke. So Senator Barbara Favola, she's a Democrat. I have had experience with Ms. Beals every time. She is competent, responsive, very quick, and always steered her team to the correct section of code and stated she is on top of things. Senator Eben, another Democrat. Ms. Beals is a straight shooter and qualified with her experience. Senator Eben stated that they may differ on philosophy, but there is no question she is committed to fair and orderly elections and has been responsive, thoughtful, and fair. And then came Senator Joe Morrissey. He's also a Democrat, and he had some direct questions for Senator Chase. And Evan, if you can key up our last clip, cut number 4, we'll hear from Senator Morrissey.
Senator Morrissey has the floor.
I would ask the gentlelady a couple of questions, and I think they could be answered yes or no. Did the show cause that was filed against Ms. Beals end up being dismissed? Yes or no?
Senator Chase has the floor.
The question would be yes, because it was not properly completed and filed in the right jurisdiction.
Would the gentlelady yield for another question?
Will the senator yield? The senator yields.
Probably my ears, but I struggled to hear the explanation. But did the gentlelady say that that Ms. Beals worked for her, or they had some type of professional association?
Senator Chase has the floor.
She worked for me my first session in office, yes.
Senator Morrissey.
Would the gentlelady yield for another question?
Will the senator yield again?
I will.
Gentlelady yields. Senator Morrissey.
Did Ms. Beals quit your employment?
Senator, thank you, Madam Chair. And to answer the junior senator from Richmond City, everyone at the end of session went on to their regular lives.
Let me rephrase that question. Did she send you a letter saying that I'm quitting and I'm no longer going to work for you?
Madam President, what I would tell the gentleman is that this was back in 2015, and she worked on my campaign. And after session, most of my staff, it was too much for them and they left. I don't remember.
Would the gentlelady yield for final question?
No.
Final question, Senator.
I think we're done. Thank you.
The gentlelady does not yield.
So she was disappointed they didn't call her for a reference, but yet she doesn't even remember how she exactly ended her job, right?
Exactly. Conveniently. It's always conveniently. Out of I guess, I don't know the exact count, 12 or 14 employees that she's had. I don't know any that was actually fired, but as soon as they leave, she starts calling around and trashing them and telling people that either they're dumb or they couldn't do their job or they couldn't handle it, just like she did here. It was too much for them. No, it's never too much for them, because what people should realize is what's funny, and I have an analogy I use. If you work for Amanda Chase, you can work for anybody in government. So you'll see that Julianne Condrey, she's the chief of staff for Winsome Sears. Well, Amanda Chase tried to call Winsome Sears. She actually called Winsome Sears and trashed Julianne, trying to keep her from getting that job. Susan Bills worked for her. Susan Bills is now the commissioner of the Department of Elections. She has several other people that work for her. One is working in the governor's office. So, well, the problem with Amanda Chase is she is very retaliatory about people leaving her first and then going on to better things, because I think it's some kind of problem with her that she tries to make sure that people don't do that. And it's to the point, this is why I'm coming out with these things, is because this has to stop, and her voters need to know, because, you know, as many politicians, when they get out on the stage, they're beautiful, and they speak well. They're used to these things. They're used to spinning. Like you heard in the clip on the Senate floor with Susan Bills. She spun everything. She never would answer the question. And her voters need to know this, because you have, she's a conservative. She ran for governor. She finished third in the governor's race. So she has a base that other legislators, they don't want to offend her. They don't want to get her on them like she does to her employees, because they could lose their races. You know, a lot of these local races are won by 10 to 100, 200 votes. So they're scared of her, and she bullies people into submission. And I'm here to tell her, and I've told her many times, and everybody else, she will never bully me into submission. If she wants to fight in this arena, then she taught me well. I was with her for a long time. She's a master of the media. She's a master of manipulation. And her voters need to know that she's not the true Amanda Chase that they think she is. And so she will not bully me into submission. I will fight her tooth and nail. And if it has to get into the dirt and get bloody, then we'll do that. Because I am not morally going to sit back and watch this politician destroy people's lives, destroy good people that gave her months or years of their lives and were 100% loyal. For instance, when I left and quit on March 10th of last year, she turned to me and she said, "If you leave me, I will effing destroy you." And that was the first shot. And people want to know, they think I'm too radical after her. They think I'm hitting her too hard. They think I'm obsessed. No, she fired the shot. If you want to destroy me, then you better bring it on. And there's where I'm standing with her. So, you know, I'm getting with the further right conservatives that all love me and support me because I was with her for so long. I gained a lot of relationships in the Republican Party. Some of those people are saying, you know, you got to stop. It's hurting your brand. It's making you look like you're a stalker. No, she's trying to make it look like I'm a stalker. What I'm doing, I'm exposing her, and she has no retaliation other than legally to try to take my guns, because she knows that if she does this, then I can't be executive protection person anymore. It tarnishes my record. And this is her go-to thing, because that's all she has against me, because she knows I will never be bullied into submission, and I will not quit. So now she's trying to go the legal route. And another thing is she's spending all of her donors' money on these legal cases. She has to hire lawyers. You know, she should be spending that money on her race, but she's not, because she knows that I'm coming for her politically, never physically, never would ever do that. But she's trying to turn that in to make me, trying to tarnish me, to make me look like I'm crazy.
And you're not. And there's another affidavit by you, a previous employee, that she pretty much said the same thing. You know, F him, I'm going to get him red flagged. And that was a previous employee.
Right.
She has a history of this. And yet, when she was testifying to those other, I think it was the senators, she said, no, she's never invoked them on her employees.
This is not a mistake I forgot.
No.
Amanda Chase is very intelligent. She might have a lot of issues, but she's very intelligent, and she's a master manipulator. And she knows exactly what happened there, because she knows I was with her. I was in the car, and I was on the call when she made the call. She knew that, and you can actually tell when she said no. If you know her and you know her tone of voice, she knew she was had. Because what's she going to do? She's lost either way. If she says yes, there's going to be gas in the room. And if she says no, there's going to be gas in the room, because now I have the police reports and now I have the affidavits. But I think she wasn't planning on me having the backup. I would never accuse her of something. I would never say something, especially on the radio, especially in the news, if I didn't have the facts to back it up.
That's absolutely right. You're on the radio. You're reaching out to different media. Anything that you say is obviously recorded. So you have to stick with what you're saying. You can't deny what claims you're making here. And with Senator Chase, I want to talk a little bit too. One of her most recent employees that left talked about a day working with her, and it's just, there's tough employers, and that's fine out there, and she's probably one of them. But where it's going over a line is the retaliation. Like, she waited all that time with Susan Beals, and she still, after 7 years, was trying to get her removed from being election commissioner. She held that for 7 years, and that woman only worked for her for one session.
And it's a slap in the face to the governor. It's a slap in the face to the Republican Party. And this is, like I said, this is just one instance of many, many instances. And I actually say that she's an embarrassment to the Republican Party. The things that she's done, the people she's called out, the things that she's said. She sued her own party. She sued the Republican Party of Virginia for over the election process for the governor's race. She sued the Senate for censuring her. She spent thousands of dollars trying to reverse things, and the censure, she said she was going to wear it as a badge of honor. No, that's not a badge of honor. There's only been 2 senators ever in the history of Virginia that have been censured. That's not a badge of honor. That's a badge of shame.
That's right. That's right. Appreciate you folks tuning in. Janelle, she says abuse of power. Absolutely, this is an abuse of power. And it's horrific. And again, it's the very thing that opponents of the red flag laws were afraid would happen.
Exactly. And it's a double-edged sword because my Democrat senator friends say, it's a double-edged sword because you guys didn't want us to do it and we did it, but then the Republican was the one using it. So
right.
It's even more embarrassing to the Republican Party.
Right.
We're trying to get it repealed, and now you have a senator that's using it.
Using against their own employees. And, I want to talk about, just tell us a little bit about a day working with Senator Chase, because the previous, and I can read his statement if you want, but just as easy for you to tell us, part of the things of working with Senator Chase is he said no clear and understood lines and expectations were ever drawn. So you wear a lot of hats with her. So I'm sure when somebody does resign, that's part of the reason it's tough to replace that person.
Well, it's tough to replace that person, but more than that, with Senator Chase, it's different. With my job with Senator Reeves now, I mean, he does his job. He's not in the media raising Cain every day. He actually works with other senators. You have a senator with Amanda Chase that's not in the Republican caucus. She's the only person that's not in the Republican caucus. She attacks her own people all the time. So you're dealing with that. You're having to. I fixed so many things with her. I fixed media relationships because she would burn relationships. I would fix those relationships. She expects you 24/7 to be on the job. She's retaliatory. You sit and watch her be retaliatory to multiple people on a daily basis. She goes after anybody that opposes her, anybody that says anything wrong. And see, what I look at, if you have a good conservative, especially a good conservative senator, you're never going to like everything they do. We're never going to like anything everything that all these legislators do. But if they're right 8 or 9 times out of 10,
that's right.
Then you support them. Well, with her, you do one thing wrong, and she starts attacking you. She attacks her own party. She's attacked the governor. She's attacked the lieutenant governor. She's attacked the attorney general. And this is why I am so steadfast to make sure that she does not hold office again, because it's a total abuse of power. But it's not only a total abuse of power, it's not only just an embarrassment to the Republican Party in Virginia especially, but it's an embarrassment to politics, period.
Well, Shayne, you flew all the way down here to Florida to share this story, and of course, her voters are not down here. But what is happening in Virginia? What do voters think? What do they hear up there? Does she have a little bit of a control in the media of what the stories are released?
She totally dominates the media. She's the most outspoken. They love to hear from her because she's so bombastic about everything she does. I think that, a lot of it's suppressed, but and rightfully so to the Republican Party. They don't want to see this get in the dirt because it looks bad on the party. This is election year. You have 140, you have all 100 House seats up, you have all 40 Senate seats up, and they want this to sort of go away. They don't want me to drag this in the mud, and I don't want to do that. Like I said, I want to expose her for what she is. Let's let the voters know, because if the voters don't know, she has a base that. Here's the thing: when you expose someone, especially a politician that's liked by a large percentage of their conservative base, it's very hard to convince them that they've been lied to. That's the big thing. You have to have overwhelming evidence, and still you're not going to lose. She's going to have certain ones that will never believe anything you say. Like she said, I'm a disgruntled employee. It's misinformation. No, it's not. I have all the documentation. So the bigger issue with her is she does dominate the media. She does bully people into submission, and I say Amanda Chase is a product of everybody letting her get away with these things for so long. Because when you do these things, the more you get away with bullying, the more you'll use the bully, because you know that if you get in a bind, you can just bully people into submission. So a lot of people don't even want to take her on, especially senators, because if she holds a 10% conservative base, if she goes out and tells all those people I'm against you, she's actually told people that she wants to primary all 39 senators because she doesn't like them because they won't because they don't agree with her.
Clearly, that's why she's against the rest of them, and it's mind-boggling that she is so bombastic. For us, here in Florida, listening to this story I'm thinking, how on earth does this woman keep getting reelected? But part of it is because this story hasn't been out.
Exactly.
It has been put out in the media, and you're trying to let people know what's going on behind the scenes. You just had a preliminary protective order placed on you against her, or you can't go near her, whatever the order is. I want to remind everybody, Shayne Snavely is certified in armed personal protection with the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice and is founding partner of the Executive Protective Services. How long have you been offering personal protection?
Well, I've started, the first job I did was actually, I started with her during her governor's race in January 2021. And I worked from there to be her team lead. Then I was her legislative aide, always security, but it's sort of an unknown, unsaid thing. I'm basically was her legislative aide, but I'm armed personal protection. So she just got that. I was the guy with the gun, but I was still her legislative aide, because theoretically she can't hire people for security and pay out of the Senate. That's not. I mean, it's not immoral. I mean, it's immoral, but it's not illegal. It's not illegal, right? But I started with her. I protected her for 14 months. I was everywhere in the country with her. For 10 months, it was just her and I. And this is why she's doing this, because the protective order is actually worse than red flag laws. Because the red flag law, you can prove that you're mentally stable and get your guns back. With the protective order, you lose your concealed weapons permit, you lose your guns. For if she gets a 2-year protective order, I can't have guns. She's doubling down in doing worse to me than she tried with other people, because she knows that this is the only thing she has against me. She knows how that's my job. She knows that I collect guns. And this is her ultimate. And her legislative aide actually told me, he said, if you have things on her, you better drop them now, because she's out to crush you.
And
so it's not about being scared of me.
Right.
It's about crushing me and damaging me.
And that previous legislative aide was very clear. Shayne worked for you for 14 months, and he didn't threaten you. You are political posturing. That is a signed affidavit from her former employee. And let me ask you this: have you ever had a personal protective order placed against you before?
No.
So
I have a clean record.
Clean record. So this is the first time, but yet she has 2 employees in her short tenure of 7 years here in the Senate that she's placed red flag. Well, you're personal protective, but red flag, invoke the red flag laws against them.
Yes.
So, folks, you need to really start breaking down the story, and that's what Shayne is here to tell his side of it, because what makes sense,
And here's the other thing is, when I told several people that I was going to expose her for this, and they said, "Oh, don't do that." And I said, "Why?" They said, because they didn't know that I was going to expose her for the red flag law in the documentation that I had. They thought it was somebody else, and the other person didn't want to be involved. So the word I've had is that she's done this, not only what I know of, but to other people, but nobody wants to come out. See, they're afraid. She'll take you to court. She'll try to get you red flagged. She'll sue you. This is her MO. The only thing she has is the legal system, and she abuses it's total abuse of power and total defamation of her employees. Whether she uses the legal system or the Susan Beals incident, she's called several other employees. They were looking to get other campaign jobs. She'd call that person. And see, the bigger issue you have with senators, especially in Virginia, and with her abuse of power is very extraordinary, because remember, senators are the ones that appoint judges.
Right.
So she has power that people don't realize. You have judges, not that they're crooked or go along with her, but they're also thinking about their career.
Right.
She could try to get them not reappointed. When lawyers come up for appointment for judges, she's opposed a lot of them. She opposes the same way. She opposes everybody. She doesn't oppose people out of their morals. She opposes people out of the retaliation because she does not like them.
What's going on with your personal protective case, by the way? Because that is really disturbing to me, because this is your livelihood.
This is. I have several lawyers on it. I think what's going to happen, and I think what Senator Chase is miscalculated, is she's going to have to get on the stand and she's going to have to testify. And she should remember that I was with her for 14 months. I know all of the secrets. The lawyers are going to ask her questions that she does not want to have to answer, and the media is going to be in that room.
And she made it very easy. You mind if I read her statement?
I would love you to read it.
So this is her statement to the police on why she needed a personal protective order on Shayne. And this was filed just February 3rd of this year, 2023. Senator Chase stated, Shayne Snavely threatened to destroy and take me out. He stalks me most political and official events that I attend, standing in the back of the room every time I present a bill, every time I turn around. When I'm in my office, he paces back and forth in front of my office. I'll break here for a second. Remember that Shayne works 2 offices down, and elevators, bathrooms, everything, he has to walk by her office to and from. I will continue on now. He has posted on his social media page harassing and threatening posts. Since leaving my office, he secured a job 2 doors down. At first, I thought these were just political threats, or that he meant he was going to destroy or take me out politically. But lately, he acts obsessive and emotionally unstable. Right before presenting my bills, he circulated false information before the committee just before I spoke to embarrass me. Shayne mentioned to a staffer that he had a surprise for me Thursday morning, February 2nd, which was yet another attempt to publicly embarrass me. Shayne has guns, and I fear for my life that he will try to seriously hurt me. The week of December 8th, I found a nail in the wall of my tire.
Isn't it childish? She actually it's very explaining. Several times she mentions I'm embarrassing her. No.
Right.
So it's about the embarrassment. It's not about she's afraid for her life. It's that she knows that I'm exposing her and I'm embarrassing her, and I'm embarrassing her to her constituents, her voters, and to legislators by telling the truth. So it's awful funny that the very last statement isn't he has guns and I fear for my life.
Exactly. He has guns and I fear for my life. She's trying to say you're unstable now, and then I have no idea how a nail in your tire relates to you.
I wasn't even in town. Yeah.
Yep. You weren't even in town, but I mean, I get nails in my tire all the time, and I never think somebody actually put it there. I probably ran over something, but and it kind of reminds me too with her with the statement from the former employee that said she got mad, told us we were picking on her, and that she got picked on as a child, and she's been offended. It feels to me there's some other issues going on here with Senator Chase.
Well, during her censure in 2021, several senators got up and actually on the Senate floor asked her to get help. I truthfully, like I said, you can't be with somebody 14 months and be with them one-on-one for 10 of those months, traveling all over the country and not care about the person. I do think that she should seek some help. Most people know that are around her. What I want to do, I just want the voters to know, because the abuse of power, the lack of representation in her district. She's got 0 bills passed for several years. Now, she'll say she has bills passed because she'll co-sponsor a bill. Co-sponsor a bill is you're jumping on a bill that's already going to get passed. That's not your bill. She exploits those things. But, she's what we need in her district, all the negative of Amanda Chase aside, we need a legislator that's going to get in there and work with the party, work with the other side, and start actually getting things done for their district. They need to look at what the issues in their district, not all this bombastic stuff, not always hitting everybody for everything, not trashing their own party. Ronald Reagan had and I'm sort of breaking that rule here, but I'm breaking it for a moral reason. Ronald Reagan, you never speak ill of another Republican. Well, that's all she does is speak ill of other Republicans. And even when I approached the liberal media, they said, oh man, we love her. We don't really want her to go. We don't want to run the story because she gives us all the information we need to hit our own people. And
Makes sense.
We need a senator. She has two competitors. I like them both. They both will be excellent senators. and they're willing to work. They're willing to work with the party. They're willing to, and the Amanda Chase is the far right firebrands. There's only a couple in Virginia that are like this. They think everybody in their party is a rhino. They don't work with anybody. So if you don't work with anybody and you dislike everybody and you make everyone mad, how can you ever get anything done for your constituents? So what I say to even her constituents that will support her no matter what, she could do whatever. What I say to them is, okay, even if you like her, look at what she's doing for you. She's doing nothing for you in your district. And you should want a senator that's actually get in there, going to make relationships and work, not end relationships and not get anything done.
Well, Shayne Snavely, again, I appreciate you coming here on air. I think the biggest thing for me, because I don't know Senator Chase, we're in Florida, so we don't necessarily follow the Virginia politics as closely, but I find it very troubling, just the hypocritical side of it. She's very opposed to red flag laws, and I have concerns about them being abused as well, but then she goes and she's the reason why I'm concerned.
Yes.
Is somebody using them unjustly. So it's very hypocritical, and I think voters need to look at that. You gotta, you gotta hope your representative represents you honestly.
They need to listen to the clip. She explained everything perfectly when she presented the bill. The problem is that she's the one using them.
She is, and even with the clip on that day, she said, "Oh, that's not true. I've never invoked red flag law." I'm not sure how she can say that, and there's another employee besides you who said the police told him, yes, this is a red flag law interview.
We have documentation in her own words that she said after I exposed her that she was going to red flag me. It's obvious abuse of power and retaliation.
It is, and that's what people really need to know. They need to realize. Shayne Snavely, I appreciate you coming on here today. This is a really big story. I hope it grows some legs in Virginia so people just understand what's going on. And I think for the better of the party, as tough it is as it is, and I know the party, they don't want to have their laundry aired, right? Their dirty laundry aired. But, sometimes you need to do that to clean up the party, move forward, put it behind you, and everybody goes forward. Shayne, I really wish you luck with this because it's a shame that you have to deal with this, especially the personal protective order, as you said, is worse than the red flag law for you personally.
And I would like to say, with the legal fees and we're doing an opposition campaign against her, we do have a donation site to help with legal fees and help. It's tinyurl, tinyurl.com/Fire Amanda Chase.
Fire Amanda Chase.
tinyurl.com/Fire Amanda Chase.
We'll put that on here in the comments under below here on this story. So really huge things happening in Virginia. And, I just appreciate somebody that's working right on the inside, coming out and letting people know things do happen and you need to speak out. Sometimes you just have to do the right thing.
And I've talked to the party, a lot of the leaders in the party, and they understand it's going to be a short amount of pain for a lot of gain if
That's right. The long-term gain is worth it.
Yeah.
It's absolutely worth it. Folks, next week I'm going to have a guest host in the studio. I'm going to have Richard Geisinger. He's going to be sitting in for me. He's going to have Jim Moore, the Indian Water Riverkeeper, in the studio again. He's got some wonderful events coming up he wanted to share with us. And I'll be back the following week. And it's a story you're really going to want to tune into, especially here locally. It's about Brightline, Florida East Coast Railway. You didn't know it last week, but we had Mike Magnoli. He was with Channel 12 sitting in the studio the entire hour because he was doing a story on Brightline and LNG trains. If you didn't catch that, I have a link to his story on my page and many of his stories. He's been covering how dangerous LNG is on the rails for the last couple of years. And, make it really quick here. Alaska and Florida are the only two states where LNG is being transported on the rails. And, FEC is the train that transports it here in South Florida. Over 6 million people alone in South Florida. The stuff's lighter than air. We call it bomb trains because it's cryogenically frozen, and then when it hits air, it expands and it will explode like a big bomb. And it floats through the air. It can go miles. It's very scary stuff. I'm going to do an update March 22nd on the train, and we're going to talk about Brightline. We're going to talk about Martin County, the agreement that they settled with Brightline, what's going on with the bridge, all kind of updates. So it's going to be what happened and where we are today, and hopefully we'll see if we can make sure our train tracks here are safe, and we'll get this bridge issue straightened out here on the St. Lucie River as well. But in the meantime, Shayne Snavely, I appreciate you coming in today, talking about your story about red flag laws and Senator Amanda Chase in Virginia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I hope you get a lot more traction up in Virginia, too, so voters know. That's the most important thing. Voters have to be informed, and without you speaking out, they wouldn't be. So
Right.
I appreciate it. I know it's a tough thing to do, but you're doing the right thing, and you're certainly a principled man, and certainly appreciate that you are willing to stand up for what's right.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you again. Richard Geisinger, he'll be back in the studio guest hosting for me next week, and I'll be back on the 22nd to talk about Brightline and LNG and the train. We'll see you then.